Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Merci d'être ici. Thank you for joining us today. 3 years ago, I ran for mayor because I was concerned about the future of our city. After the convoy and the unsuccessful launch of the LRT, I heard from residents that they were losing faith in their city government. They were losing faith in basic municipal services like policing and public transit. And they were worried about rising costs and the local economy. Ils étaient inquiets de la hausse du coût de la vie et de l'économie locale. Je me suis présenté parce que je crois en notre gouvernement municipal. I ran because I believe in city government. I believed it could be better. I believed in teamwork and collaboration. I believed that in a polarizing time in politics, we could bring people together to move Ottawa forward. I believed we needed to deliver results for all of Ottawa, not just pit one part of the city against another. I believed we could keep tax increases low while investing in priorities. I believed we could find savings and efficiencies. I believed we could make Ottawa safer, more reliable, and more affordable. Je croyais que nous pouvions rendre Ottawa plus sécuritaire, plus fiable, et plus abordable. Today, with the presentation of the draft 2026 budget, I'm renewing that commitment to Ottawa residents to make Ottawa safer, more reliable, and more affordable. Budgets are about choices. And as we table the draft budget today, the final budget for this term of council, we have a choice to make. A choice between high tax increases and big spending, or a balanced, responsible approach that protects affordability and invests in what matters most to our residents. There are some members of council who have already said our tax increases are too low, but that's not what I hear from members of the community. I spend a lot of time traveling around our city, every part of our city, every single week, knocking on doors and attending community events. And I've met so many hardworking residents and small business owners who are worried about the future. J'ai rencontré de nombreux résidents et propriétaires de petites entreprises qui travaillent fort et s'inquiètent pour l'avenir. I spoke with families in Riverside South and Greeley and Barrhaven who have seen the cost of food and housing increase while their salaries have barely kept up. I spoke with parents in Canada who are worried that their children will have a tougher life than they've had. I spoke with a mother in Centrepoint who's worried her kids won't be able to afford a home. I've spoken with small business owners all over the city who are worried about higher and higher tariffs and an escalating trade war. They don't know what Donald Trump will do next and how that will impact their businesses and the local economy. I've spoken with federal public servants who are worried about the recently announced job reductions. J'ai parlé avec des fonctionnaires fédéraux qui s'inquiètent des récentes compressions d'emplois annoncées. We're now facing the loss of thousands of jobs in our city, and that impacts not only federal employees, but also their family members and neighbors and business owners across the city. I've lived in Ottawa my whole life, and it's been a long time since I've heard this level of anxiety about the future. I feel a great deal of empathy for our residents who are struggling. In the face of all that uncertainty and risk, we have a big responsibility. We have a responsibility to provide stability, to manage our finances carefully, to protect our residents during a period of dramatic change and discomfort, to support those who are impacted the most, and to invest in a brighter future and a better city. Nous avons la responsabilité d'apporter de l'espoir à nos résidents. We have a responsibility to provide hope to residents. We have a responsibility to avoid turning negative, to avoid pitting one part of the community against another. We face a lot of challenges, but I refuse to be discouraged. I believe we're making a lot of progress, and I believe that by working together, we can achieve even more. The budget we're presenting today is about stability. It's about bringing a balanced approach. It's about protecting affordability while investing in what matters most to you. Like many families and small business owners across our city, we're managing our finances very carefully at City Hall. We're looking carefully at every dollar we spend. And in the past 3 years, we've now found $253 million in savings and efficiencies at City Hall. That's more than $250 million of savings we're passing on to our residents. That's the equivalent of a 12% tax increase we're not imposing on our residents. That works out to savings of more than $530 per household. Those savings are critically important because we simply can't add to the burden of homeowners, renters, and small businesses with big tax increases right now. Nous ne pouvons tout simplement pas ajouter au fardeau des propriétaires, des locataires, et de petites entreprises. We've seen that happen in other cities in Canada. In Toronto, Vancouver, and other municipalities, there have been tax increases of 10 or 11% in some years. In Ottawa, we've kept our average increase to below 3% for the past 3 years. Those are the lowest tax increases of any major city in Canada. That's how we're helping to keep life more affordable for our residents, by putting more money in their hands. That's more money they can spend on rent, on food, on their mortgage. We simply can't afford Toronto-style tax increases right now in Ottawa. Another way that we've been able to keep tax increases low is through working hard to attract record levels of investment from the provincial and federal governments. Last year, the province committed more than $500 million in funding specifically to the City of Ottawa. Just over a year ago, I launched my Fairness for Ottawa campaign. Following that, we secured an investment of $180 million from the federal government toward our transit priorities. And our work together continues. I've had a number of discussions with Prime Minister Carney and our local MPs on several key initiatives that will help Ottawa move forward. Earlier this year, Premier Doug Ford made a historic commitment to upload our LRT. That's a transformative opportunity that will save Ottawa taxpayers billions of dollars over the coming years. In particular, the upload will save us about $85 million a year in our budget. That's $85 million more that we can reinvest in public transit every single year. Ce sont 85 millions de dollars de plus que nous pourrons réinvestir chaque année dans le transport en commun. So because we've worked hard to find $250 million in savings, and because we've worked hard to attract hundreds of millions of dollars investment from other levels of government, we can invest in our residents' priorities. We're able to invest more in public safety, more in public transit, more in affordable housing, more in supporting our most vulnerable, and more in repairing our roads and sidewalks. In fact, we can invest historic amounts in all these priorities, significantly more than we've invested before. As directed by Council, the 2026 budget includes a total tax increase for all city services, including public transit, policing, paramedics, and everything, of 3.75%. That's below last year's increase, and again, it will be one of the lowest in the country. I've heard some people say this increase is too low, but I will always fight to protect taxpayers during an affordability crisis. Higher taxes contribute to inflation, and add to the burden of all our residents, including homeowners and renters. When landlords pay higher taxes, they pass those costs on to their tenants. This morning, I want to provide a few highlights of some of the significant investments we'll be making in this budget. Ottawa is a kind and compassionate city. Unfortunately, the number of vulnerable people in our community has been growing because of rising affordability issues, the opioid crisis, and mental illness. We must support our most vulnerable residents. We must respond to the housing crisis and to food insecurity. In the 2026 budget, we'll increase our funding to critical programs to support the most vulnerable to more than $222 million. Dans le budget de 2026, nous augmenterons le financement des programmes essentiels pour soutenir les plus vulnérables à plus de 222 millions de dollars. We're making a lot of progress on affordable housing, and the 2026 budget includes an additional capital investment of $23.25 million in affordable housing. That brings our total investment during this term of council to more than $105 million, compared to $45 million in the previous term. That's an increase of 133% in our commitment to affordable housing. Thanks to this investment, we'll deliver more than 850 units this term of council. That's more than double the number of units built last term, 411. A few weeks ago, I pledged to end youth homelessness in Ottawa by 2030. I've heard very positive feedback about that pledge over the past few weeks, including when I was knocking on doors recently in Orleans, and a resident told me she thought there was nothing more important for our city. Working with wonderful community organizations, including the Alliance to End Homelessness, we're working hard to achieve that goal. And the 2026 budget includes $400,000 toward the Youth Homelessness Action Plan. It also includes another $476,000 for food security. That's 15% more than last year in response to a specific request from our local food banks. There's nothing more important than the safety of our residents, and that includes emergency services being available when our residents need them. When I ran for mayor in 2022, one of my greatest concerns was the number of level 0 events in our city when no ambulances were available. This year, because we've hired more paramedics and invested in solutions, the number of level 0 events has dropped by almost 80%. For the first time since 2020, our paramedic service is meeting its mandated response times. That's huge progress, but we need to keep going. Through the 2026 budget, we'll hire an additional 23 paramedics to serve our growing community. I hear from residents all over the city who are worried about public safety, and they want to see more police resources in the community. I spoke with a resident in Stittsville recently who was very concerned about street racing. I spoke with residents in Barrhaven who had their car stolen from their driveway. So we'll be investing significantly in the Ottawa Police Service. The police will receive a total budget increase of $26.1 million in 2026. That's the result of a 5% increase in the police levy and a number of strategic one-time investments. Our police are making great progress under Chief Eric Stubbs, but there's still a lot of work to do. As the Auditor General recently pointed out, we need more service in our community. Through this budget, we'll hire an additional 25 police officers. We'll invest in district policing to make sure every part of our city is served properly. Nous investirons dans la police de district pour nous assurer que chaque quartier de notre ville soit bien desservi. And we'll launch plans to provide body-worn cameras for frontline officers. And to ensure the police service has the resources it needs over the coming years, we're going to work with them on a long-term financial plan that reviews their finances, creates sustainable streams of funding, and finds savings and efficiencies, so the police budget is properly funded for this next phase of their important work. One of the ways that we can deliver better service to our community is through the Anchor program that was launched last year in Centertown. Anchor provides an alternative response to mental health calls, and it's been working very effectively. The feedback from community partners has been overwhelmingly positive. We heard from a resident from Centertown who saw a woman in distress, and she called Anchor. She said, "I was glad I could get her some professional help without involving the police or ambulance. After all, she wasn't committing a crime and didn't seem to require an ambulance. She still needed help, though. This fills an important gap." I'm pleased to say we will be expanding Anchor. Plans have already begun to serve an even larger area where the pilot project was launched in Centertown. And in this budget, we'll be investing $700,000 to expand Anchor into another area of our city. That will be a very positive step forward. Public transit is another critical area that requires significant investment. Le transport en commun est un autre secteur essentiel qui nécessite des investissements importants. In 2026, we'll be launching the new East End extension of light rail, bringing the O train to Orleans, doubling the length of Line 1 and adding 5 new transit stations. The 2026 budget includes a record level of investment in public transit. The OC Transpo budget will increase to $938.7 million in 2026. That's almost $1 billion being invested in public transit for our growing city. And it's about $300 million more than we spent on transit in 2021. This boost in transit funding is based on an increase of 8% to the transit levy for the second year in a row, and an increase of only 2.5% to fares in order to keep transit affordable for OC Transpo passengers. That 8% increase in the transit levy fits within the 3.75% tax increase that was prescribed by Council. We will also be freezing the Equipass and Community Pass rates so we can keep transit as affordable as possible for our residents who need it most. We need to continue playing a leading role in responding to climate change. So in 2026, we'll be investing $9 million toward the Climate Change Master Plan. That's 50% more than the $6 million we invested this year. When I ran for mayor, I heard every day from residents about the state of our roads, sidewalks, and other basic infrastructure. So I committed to increasing the road resurfacing budget by $100 million during this term of council. And I'm pleased to say that the 2026 budget continues to deliver on this important priority with an additional $135 million for road resurfacing. This brings the total investment in road resurfacing during this term of council to $533 million. That's an increase of $178 million, or 50%, over the last term of council. That will have an impact in every part of our community. We've made similar progress to improve our sidewalks, and the 2026 budget includes $25.4 million to continue that work, bringing the total investment during this term of council to $65 million, a 77% increase over the previous 4 years. When I'm out visiting our rural villages, when I'm at rural fairs or plow matches or other events in our rural communities, residents often raise the need to invest more in ditching and draining projects to address the frequent flooding that they experience on farms and on rural roads. Last year, we significantly increased the ditching budget to start addressing these issues in a more timely fashion. And we will soon begin to see the results of those investments. And we're building on those investments in the 2026 budget with an additional $3.6 million in ditching projects. That brings the total for this term of council to $10.7 million, which is 80% more than last term. This past Saturday, I chatted with residents of Orleans at an announcement at the Bob McQuarrie Recreation Complex. The federal government has committed up to $15 million toward an expansion of that facility, and we're very grateful for that. We will be investing in our facilities budget as well, with $75 million to maintain community centers, sports facilities, and parks across the city. As we continue to face economic uncertainty, we're investing in our local economy and support for small business. We're working hard to reduce red tape and barriers for startups. We're investing in economic growth, diversification, and job creation through our economic development strategy, through a downtown action plan, through support for Invest Ottawa Ottawa Tourism, the Ottawa Film Office, and the Ottawa Music Industry Coalition. So, these are just a few highlights from a budget that will invest billions of dollars in our community. This is a budget that strikes a careful balance, protecting you from the affordability crisis and investing in what matters most to you: public transit, public safety, affordable housing, supporting the most vulnerable, and repairing our roads and sidewalks. It's a fiscally responsible plan. It's important to underline that, as we heard last week during the debate about Lansdowne, our city finances are in excellent shape. The provincial limit for our debt ratio is 25%, but we're keeping our debt ratio below 5%. Our credit rating is excellent. We have a strong fiscal foundation to draw on as we invest in our priorities. Again, we have a choice to make. We can take the easy way out and increase taxes on our residents, adding to their financial burden, or we can continue doing what we've been doing, working hard to find significant savings and efficiencies at City Hall, working hard to secure our fair share of investment from other levels of government. My pledge to Ottawa residents is this: I will never stop fighting to keep your taxes low. I will never give up on finding savings and efficiencies at City Hall to protect your money. I will never give up on getting Ottawa's fair share from other levels of government so that burden is not passed on to you. This is a carefully designed, balanced budget. It's a responsible budget. It's an affordable budget. It's a budget that delivers stability for our residents in a time of uncertainty in our city and around the world. It's a budget that delivers for all of Ottawa, for our rural communities, for our suburban residents, and for our urban core. It's a budget that aspires to make our city better for everyone, especially for our children and our grandchildren. It's a budget that keeps Ottawa moving forward. C'est un budget qui permet à Ottawa de continuer à avancer. C'est un budget qui réaffirme mon engagement pris en 2022 de rendre Ottawa plus sécuritaire, plus fiable, et plus abordable. It's a budget that reaffirms my commitment in 2022 to make Ottawa safer, more reliable, and more affordable. Thank you. Merci.
I will now invite each agency in alphabetical order to ask questions. You may ask one question with one follow-up. Par ordre alphabétique, j'invite maintenant chaque organisme à poser une question et une question de suivi. We'll now start with, nous allons commencer par Arthur White-Crummy at CBC.
Good morning, Arthur.
Good morning. Happy Budget Day.
Thank you. You too. Has everybody seen Cyril's shoes, by the way?
I saw them coming in. They're very
Okay.
classy.
This is a big part of the tradition we have now.
So you noted this is the last budget of this term of council, and you contrasted your low tax approach with what you said might be a higher tax approach from others. Do you view this as a pre-election budget, and what are you hoping that voters will take from it as we look towards the campaign?
I'm not thinking about the campaign right now. I'm thinking about delivering for our residents in the mandate that I was given by Ottawa residents in 2022. It's been 3 years since then, so I think it's important to go back and look at what was expected of us in 2022, what we were grappling with at that time, what we've delivered on so far, and how we can continue to move Ottawa forward in the next year, the final year of our mandate. But I think we do have a choice, and I did start to hear around the council table during budget direction time that there were people advocating that maybe we should have bigger tax increases like Toronto and Vancouver have had. And again, that's not what I hear in the community. When I'm out here in the community, people are really struggling with rising costs, and they don't want higher taxes. And this applies to not just homeowners, but renters, because if landlords are charged higher taxes, they're going to pass that on to renters, and rents are going to go up. So it affects everybody. It affects small businesses, it affects renters, it affects homeowners. So I think we have a real choice with this budget. And I think what we've demonstrated is we can have low tax increases and big investments in our priorities because we found $250 million in savings and efficiencies, and because we've attracted record levels of investment from other levels of government. If we do those things, we can keep tax increases low, reduce the burden on our residents, and we can invest record amounts in public transit, policing, paramedics, repairing roads and sidewalks, supporting the most vulnerable, and building more affordable housing.
And just quick, with like a two-word answer, do you have anyone in mind when you talk about those who want to spend more around the council table?
Well, I'd have to go back and review what was discussed when we were debating the budget direction, but I heard councillors talking about how, you know, we've been keeping tax increases too low in Ottawa, and I can tell you that's not what I've heard from the community.
And just one more quick one. The $400,000 for youth homelessness just seems low given the scale of the problem. Why not invest more to get a handle on this more quickly, given that it's reaching crisis levels?
We've been working with the Alliance to End Homelessness. We've been working with Operation Come Home, with Youth Services Bureau, with other leaders in the community, and we have a strategy to end youth homelessness by 2030 that they have contributed to and supported. This is the investment that's required for 2026 to support some of the initiatives that are happening. There's a very clear plan. If we need more money in future budgets, we'll look at that, but this is the money required to support the plan that we have that will achieve the goal.
We will now go to Leah Larocque at CTV.
Good morning, Leah.
Hello. I just want to ask about transit. And there's, without a ton of money coming from the feds or the province, how can we fix this problem? How can we fix transit? Ridership is still low. The fees haven't gone up. It's the big deficit in our budget right now.
We're going to continue to work with other levels of government on attracting the investment we need for public transit. We're making a historic investment in transit. Again, if you go back to 2021, I think the budget for transit that year was around $630, $640 million. Now the transit budget is almost $940 million, close to $1 billion that we're investing in transit every year. The portion of our budget that goes to transit has gone up significantly in recent years. So we're investing in public transit. It's a huge priority for us. The big game changer for us is going to be when the provincial government uploads the LRT, as they've committed to doing. That will save us billions of dollars over the coming years, and in particular, it will have an $85 million impact on our annual budget. So when that transaction takes place and when they upload the LRT, we'll have $85 million more every year to reinvest in improving transit in Ottawa. So that's a big game changer, and I'm glad the provincial government is committed to doing it.
A timeline for that?
It's a big transaction, so I don't want to set expectations too high. What we've seen in other communities and other transactions is that it can take 18 months, 24 months to complete something like that. And in the meantime, you know, we're going to continue investing in public transit, and we're going to continue working with the other levels of government to make sure we have their support.
My next question is just on those efficiencies that you said almost $500 million. Can you elaborate on where those were?
$250 million, yeah.
Thank you.
You can say $500 million if you want, but it won't be. Yeah.
The efficiencies, where were those found, and were there any cuts or programs that weren't renewed? Where were they?
No, the great thing about how we've been approaching this, we have a team of councillors and city staff who have been working very hard during the past 3 years to achieve those savings and efficiencies. I'm grateful to my colleagues on the Service Review Working Group, Marty Carr, Kathy Curry, Isabel Skalski, and we are not achieving any savings and efficiencies by cutting the programs and services that residents need and care about. We're finding other ways through a number of different initiatives that are all outlined in the budget document that will be coming out today. We found ways to save money without impacting our residents. So that's the equivalent of a 12% tax increase we have not imposed on our residents and that we're reinvesting instead in our priorities. So that's significant. And I hear from residents all the time that they appreciate the fact that we're doing that hard work, as I promised to do in 2022.
On va maintenant à Sébastien Pierrose avec le droit.
Bonjour.
Monsieur le maire. Vous annoncez une hausse de 26 millions pour la police d'Ottawa. Je sais qu'ils avaient des projections supérieures de plus de 40 millions de dollars. Est-ce que vous pensez que ça va les satisfaire et est-ce que vous avez discuté avec le chef de police de ça?
Oui. Nous avons travaillé ensemble avec le chef de la police, avec toute son équipe. Et nous avons trouvé des solutions pour augmenter le budget de la police de 5 et il y a des autres investissements dans le budget de 2026 pour la police. Alors, c'est une solution. Nous avons trouvé un consensus avec l'équipe, avec le chef, avec son équipe. Et selon moi, c'est très important d'investir dans la police parce que les résidents d'Ottawa s'inquiètent sur la sécurité. Ils me parlent souvent des enjeux dans leur communauté, qu'ils ne voient pas la police dans leur communauté. Alors, et le vérificatrice générale a parlé de ça aussi. Alors, c'est important d'investir dans notre service de police.
D'accord. Là, vous annoncez donc vous dites que c'est la plus faible hausse des taxes des grandes villes canadiennes, mais est-ce que vous ne pensez pas qu'un jour, la ville devra peut-être payer cet effort qui est fait aujourd'hui?
Qu'il y a un coût à l'avenir parce
qu'il y a des taxes qui sont maîtrisées pour une grande ville canadienne. Est-ce que ce n'est pas quelque chose où un jour il y aura un contre-coup?
Non, parce que nous avons trouvé des efficaces à l'hôtel de ville et nous avons attiré les fonds des autres niveaux de gouvernement. Alors, c'est possible d'avoir des augmentations de taxes qui sont moins des autres villes et faire des investissements importants dans nos priorités, dans les priorités de nos résidents, parce que nous avons trouvé ces efficaces et nous avons attiré des fonds des autres niveaux de gouvernement. Ça, c'est possible d'avoir des augmentations plus bas que les autres villes et les investissements historiques, les investissements qui sont 20 40 80 plus que le mandat avant que nous.
Juste pour clarifier, quand vous dites efficacité en anglais, efficiencies,
oui.
Vous faites allusion à quoi? Vous vous référez à quoi?
Les efficacités
oui.
à l'hôtel de ville, il y a une liste dans le budget, mais nous avons trouvé des solutions sans impact sur les programmes et les services dont les résidents d'Ottawa comptent.
Merci beaucoup.
Oui. Sure.
Are we pushing something down?
Yeah. No, we are able to have lower tax increases than other municipalities in Canada and still invest historic amounts in priority areas like public transit, public safety, repairing our roads and sidewalks, affordable housing, supporting the most vulnerable, because we have found $250 million in savings and efficiencies at City Hall, and because we've attracted record levels of investment from other levels of government. So we're able to take those funds and reinvest them in priorities. And that's why you're seeing, when compared to previous levels, previous spending levels of the previous term of council, if you compare this term of council to the previous term of council, we're investing in some cases 20% more, 40% more, 60% more. On affordable housing, 133% more than the previous term of council because we found those savings and because we've attracted that investment.
On va maintenant à Anaïs Desjardins à Radio-Canada.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, M. Sutcliffe. Vous mentionnez justement investir davantage dans les résidents vulnérables. Vous dites qu'il y a une crise des opioïdes, une crise des personnes en situation d'itinérance. Ceci dit, la plupart de votre investissement se dirige vers les logements abordables, ce qui va prendre beaucoup de temps. Puis au niveau de ce qui va être un impact direct, c'est seulement 400 000 pour l'itinérance chez les jeunes et près de 500 000 pour la sécurité alimentaire. Est-ce que vous croyez que c'est suffisant, considérant l'étendue de la crise pour toutes les personnes vulnérables dans la ville?
Alors, ce sont des exemples, mais il y a des autres investissements dans le budget. Il y a un investissement en total de 222 millions de dollars pour soutenir les plus vulnérables dans notre communauté. Et nous avons atteindre beaucoup de progrès dans les logements abordables. Nous sommes en train de bâtir à peu près 850 nouveaux logements abordables. En comparaison, dans les 4 années précédentes, c'était à peu près 400 logements abordables. Alors, nous avons avancé beaucoup de projets et il y a beaucoup de fonds pour... nous voulons toujours investir plus, mais nous avons beaucoup de fonds pour l'incertitude de la nourriture, pour les banques alimentaires, pour les logements abordables, pour le plan pour mettre à fin l'itinérance chez les jeunes et des autres investissements aussi. Alors, oui.
Puis bien que l'investissement pour la police soit plus bas que ce qui était anticipé, est-ce que vous n'avez pas quand même l'impression que vous êtes plus dans la réaction plutôt que la prévention pour les problèmes, les personnes en situation d'itinérance, la crise des opioïdes, parce que vous ne misez pas davantage sur les services communautaires?
Je ne comprends pas la question. Alors, nous investissons dans la police, mais nous investissons aussi dans les solutions communautaires, oui.
OK. Puis, est-ce que je pourrais également avoir la réponse de CTV, mais en français, donc par rapport à ces transports, puis comment vous souhaitez redresser le déficit ou faire face au déficit de la société?
Alors, nous investissons dans OC Transpo. C'est un investissement historique. En 2021, l'investissement dans le transport en commun, vers le transport en commun, c'était à peu près 640 millions de dollars. Maintenant, c'est à peu près 940 millions de dollars pour le transport en commun. Et la solution court terme, long terme, c'est la décision l'engagement de Doug Ford de transférer le train léger, le train léger au gouvernement provincial. Et quand cette transaction est complète, est terminée, c'est un impact de 85 millions de dollars par année sur notre budget pour le transport en commun. Alors, ce sont des fonds que nous pouvons réinvestir dans le transport en commun pour éliminer le déficit dans le budget pour le transport en commun.
This concludes our media availability. Ceci conclut le point de presse d'aujourd'hui. Thank you, everyone. Merci tout le monde.
Thank you. Merci.